Hello, welcome to another video from Alberta Bushcrafter. My name is Dean, and this is video number 3 in a series of videos on saws. Now, I've had to zoom out a little bit because there's a couple of big surprises coming for you guys that you might really like, but I needed a wider angle to get this. So, this is the third type of saw. This is actually the bow saw or buck saw. Now, bow saws and buck saws all come in fixed or folding versions. Now, I don't generally like the folding bow saws because, well, we're going to look at a few things here and I'll say why. This is a bow saw. This is a standard, I think it's a, I don't know, not even a 21 inch. This is just a little thing I picked up at a home center just for cutting branches off trees. I think it's a 21 inch blade on this. But anyways, this is a basic $10 saw. You can see it better there. And often it's a good idea to get one of these with a blade guard. I'll get this off. Now we will get a closer look at the teeth on these because there's two different types of teeth on a bow saw. Two different types of blades. Anyways, generally you can cut a tree. I'll use something a little brighter. Normally you can cut a tree with a bow saw that is, well, the depth of the throat, as you can see here. So that's about, well, let's say 6 inches. Ow! Blades are very sharp. Wear gloves. I should actually be wearing gloves even though I'm just demonstrating these. Anyways, so this is a bow saw. This is a fixed one. Now there are folders like the Sven Saw. This is not a Sven Saw. This is a really, really old saw that got given to me from a relative of mine. It's got even a different tooth pattern than usual. But the problem with a lot of the folding saws is they are this triangular shape. And you can see, as you watch my hand, eventually your saw gets stuck right there. So if you're doing little cuts, which is not the right way to saw with one of these, doing little cuts, maybe you can cut through a fairly thick tree, but if you're doing long ones, you're pretty well limited to 3 or 4 inches on these. And that's the same principle with the folding saws. The other thing with some of the folding saws is the sides are not terribly high. So again, you can get a lot of cutting done, but there's not a lot, not a very thick tree you can cut. So this is an older design of bow saw. The previous owner stuck a big piece of garden hose on here, which is kind of neat. You see there's one thing missing. If you look along here, because I'm about to show you a couple of really good saws for the bush. Now this, you will see a video all on its own. This is the Trailblazer Folding buck saw. This actually folds up into this one little tube here. This is an amazing saw. I have had this saw for at least 15 years. And it's still holding. I think it's 17 years and it is still holding up. It has a Swedish steel blade, which is not so common anymore. But again, this is what a buck saw will look like. You can get these in wood as well, and folding versions. You can get them also fixed. I like the folding versions. The folding versions are beautifully done. They are 60 or 70 bucks. This one's about 30 to 35. One of the things with saws is also the blades. This is the spare blade for the Trailblazer, and it's Swedish steel. So this is a much, much better steel than you'll get on your average, $10 saw. Which brings us to our last one. If you really want a workhorse for the bush, this will do you fine. This is a 36-inch bow saw or Swede saw. A lot of people call them Swede saws because I think originally the teeth or the saw blades were steel. Now the nice thing about this one is you can see it's got a hand guard. So this, you can use both hands or one. This is, well, this is not something you could necessarily strap onto your pack unless you made a case for it and carry it on the outside. But this is a 36-inch bow saw, and this cuts through you can actually cut down trees with a saw like this. They're so versatile. Once again, got a very remarkable blade on there, and we'll get a close-up of those. Now the nice thing with some of these large Swede saws, that's what I call them, is you can get different blades. There's actually a drywood blade, which is just straight teeth, and there is a it just says unripened wood blade, so it's a green wood blade. So it's going to take a few minutes to set up the sawhorse because I'm going to need some bigger wood, but let's see how these babies perform. Now this is just a little bit of a close-up of the blades first before we do anything else. So I've actually got a few of them laying on top of each other. This is that old blade. You can actually see there's a weird set to the teeth that's got 4 cutters and a channel in it. So this is an old blade design. This, on the other hand, get it nice and close. This is a standard green wood blade. You can actually see, sorry, I'll hold it steadier. You've got, this is called a raker. This cuts the chips out. And then these other straight teeth are called cutters. So usually it's 3 or 4 cutters and 1 raker. And that's what makes these saws go through wood so quickly. This is a Portuguese steel blade, so it's a basic blade. This is the Trailblazer. And you can see rakers are a little sharper on this, and so are the cutters. You can actually sharpen this blade. It's Swedish steel. There's also a difference in price. The regular steel blades are about $3 or so. This is $15, and that's mostly in the difference. That's in the quality of the blade. And this blade is wonderful. So, rather than talk about it, let's prove it. Let's see how well they cut. Okay, apologize for the angle, but here we go. Here's our first one. This is that old saw. Now, I think the reason this is not cutting very well is because the blade is very, very old as well. Yeah, and it's dull because it's binding. We're throwing this one aside. This is a very thick piece of wood. I'm going to do 20 strokes with this and see how far it goes. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, and it's binding. So this is a cheap green wood blade on a cheap saw. 21 inch. And we got about 1/3 of the way through. Now for the Trailblazer. Binding a little bit, but not nearly as much, and we are more than halfway through this log. So this is a wonderful saw. Now I'm going to have to move the camera a little bit because if I don't, I am going to bump the tripod. That's how big this saw is. So here is the granddaddy. 10 strokes. That's 19. So now you see why a big saw like this is my favorite if you can carry it in the bush. Sorry, I've actually got the camera backwards, so if you see me fiddling around like this, that's why. So once again, that's the beauty of a really, really good bow saw. They're just effortless. That was 20 strokes. I went right through here. Even with the Trailblazer, it was 20 strokes. You can see that one. I am about halfway through. That's the second cut you see right on the end. That's this one here. Here. Well, you kind of get the idea. That's the one where my finger is. And this is ugly green wood. This is a piece of willow that is, it was cut recently. Actually, it was cut last fall, but it was actually sprouting. So, it'll just be a minute. We'll see how these work in dry wood. See if these other crummy saws can redeem themselves. Okay, we're ready for the same test, but in hard dry wood, which is what, again, most saws say they're best for cutting. See, it's already, because of the shape of this saw, it's already, when I get it to the end of the cut, it's bouncing out of the cut. See? You can't really see it well, but believe me, it is. This, going in a museum. Let's try again with the basic home center saw. Okay, now that's cutting much better. One. "20 strokes and we're almost through." Okay. Just be a minute to tighten things down a bit. I'm working on an experimental type of sawhorse here, and it's not that great. So here is the Trailblazer buck saw. 20 strokes again. Five, 6, 7. 20 strokes and we're through. I will point out that this was a little loose, so you want to tighten it up again. Yeah. If it ever finds it skipping, tighten the nut, but don't over tighten it. You can't actually over tighten this too much. Now you're going to laugh, but I actually had to cut because I hooked the tripod with the saw. That's how big this thing is. So I got it zoomed in and I got the camera a little further away. We're going to try this again. Oh, we were almost done. So here we go. Well, 13 strokes and it's done. There's your clear winner if you can transport it. Bring it on your ATV or something. Or for those of you who don't have ATVs or don't like them, I know who you are. Well, get a nice big case for it. Carry it by hand. Okay, well, that's it for Swede saws and bow saws. A few more notes. I mean, the little guys are okay, but they take a lot of work, and people tend to go a little too slow with them and do jerky cuts. Also, keep your kids away from your saws until they know how to use them. The worst cuts I've seen anywhere in the bush, not counting chainsaws, which we're not going to cover, are saw cuts. An axe, well, that'll take your arm or hand or whatever clean off. Yeah, knives, they tend to, they can cut very deeply, especially if you sharpen them like mine, but they're a clean cut, they're easy to stitch. Saws, on the other hand, they are ragged. Absolutely awful. The worst cuts I usually see are to the back of the hand and right here in the fleshy part of the thumb. I've seen guys go right through it. So there's another trick, is always concentrate when you're using a saw, any kind of saw, even a little mini saw, because they are adult tools. They're made for adult work. They're made for heavy work, and they're made to cut. The problem is, you get a saw, it is ragged as heck. You'll have debris all the way through there if you get a saw cut, and it's very tough to stitch up, and it's very tough to treat without you getting infected. So there is a learning curve for saws. The funny thing is there's actually much less of a learning curve for saws as there is for good knife work and good axe work. So these are a bit challenging. In this case, a bit daunting. This is a big saw. Oh, one thing, I've actually put the blade guard back on this, but you can take a piece of, that'll be 3/4 inch or 1 inch PVC, slit it down one side, and it makes a marvelous saw guard. Because the little black plastic ones, I find they tend to break, the ones that come with the saw. One broke while I was doing this demonstration, in fact. So, yeah, get a PVC saw guard on here, and I'll maybe do another video on how to do one of those. And these are great. So yeah, this is the all-round winner if you need a heavy workhorse in the bush. It just cuts so effortlessly. You let the saw do the work. The handguard is really nice. And if it's portability you want, a portable buck saw. This is a takedown, it's not a folder, but an excellent, excellent piece of work. I will have another video coming out one of these days to show you how to make your own buck saw from just a blade and a few other items. I've actually seen a few guys touting it on their websites, but you have to buy the DVD along with a saw blade and some split rings and stuff. No, I don't think so. I'm going to work out a couple of ways to do it myself. You guys know me. Anyways, this is an excellent choice. We'll have a separate video on this saw alone, and probably the Silky Pocket Boy as well, because that's my new favorite for folding saws. Okay, well, that's it. I want to thank you guys for watching another video from Alberta Bushcrafter, and thank you guys very much, and take care.